Part 2, Turning a Federal Period Finial. For woodworking DVDs, furniture drawings, tools, and project articles, please visit my website at www.americanfederalperiod.com/woodshop.html. You can see the beautiful finish that skew leaves when it's properly employed, but it's a somewhat difficult tool to use, so I've moved the camera a little closer to give a better view of what's going on here. You saw that I jammed the toe of the skew, the sharp point, in here and down in here to give me a stop cut so I didn't raise any splinters out of this band here that I need, and also that I can undercut down there. Then I flipped it on its edge like this, and I always have the tool on the tool rest and raise the handle, exaggerating the motion, raise the handle here until it starts to cut, and then slide it along the axis of the cut, taking a very light cut so that you get a smooth finish there. Then flip it back over, and here's where you run into trouble. The skew, if you allow it to cut at the point here, or the toe, it's going to dig in and raise a big chunk out and take the tool out of your hand. If you over rotate and cut down here at the heel, let me see if I can get it to do it here, it will make that, yeah, see that spiral, starts to spiral out of control there. So you want to always have it cutting in the center of the cutting edge, like right along in there. But as you get down to here, you need to have it cutting at the heel because you have to get into that sharp point right down there. So to do that, you have to, as you're working, advance the tool into the work and also rotate it at the same time to a more vertical orientation. And that's the part that's the hardest to learn, that advancing into the work. If you don't advance in there fairly aggressively, you're going to get that dig and that spiral that will ruin your work. So let me do it here under power and show you the how fluid you have to be. Now what complicates that is that you can't do it and look strictly at the tool. You also have to occasionally lift your gaze up and look here at this outside edge so that you can monitor the profile that you're making, because it's very easy to get focused on the cutting edge and end up with the wrong profile. But that is the key to getting it to cut, is to only allow it to cut in the center here on these convex shapes, but then when you get down to here, you have to rotate it to that vertical. And you can see when I ended the cut, I was almost on the center line of the axis of the turning. So now I'm going to reposition the camera and describe this area right here, which is even a little more challenging than this. Turning the upper part of the finial is quite challenging. And if you look here at the drawing or the photocopy of the original, it is nearly flat in this area before coming up to this extremely thin neck and then flaring back out again for this, what I call the bulb on the end here. Now, we want to turn the bulb almost complete. We obviously can't turn it all the way because we would lose our center, but we want to get most of the material out of the way before we start work on that neck, because that's going to be very fragile and we don't want to have to do a lot of shaping there, or we could snap that off. So I'll start with that. That's good enough for now. It'll have to be smaller than that, but that got rid of most of the wood. It's probably a little bit thick right in here and needs more of a tapered shape, but I can live with that. Now I'm going to take the keep the skew chisel out, and I'm going to make a cut in right here going in flat, because trying to start the fingernail gouge on that is going to have it want to walk back and totally destroy this band here that's been raised up from that urn shape. Now take the fingernail gouge, and I'm going to use the 3/8 inch fingernail gouge, the larger of the two that I have, and put it in that area and push almost straight in, and then just as I'm working, keeping only the center portion or the tip of it cutting, and then I'm going to roll it around like that, and then start to work more along this side edge as I get here down to the neck. So it's going to be a motion kind of like that, like a scooping motion. And part of that way I'll be going uphill, but it'll cut smooth enough for the roughing cuts. And here again you can see the excellent finish that that leaves when you allow that bevel to rub and cut in a controlled way, changing where you need as you need to keep it cutting on the part of the tool that is the most effective. And you can see when I came back here, I went along this way and slid. The difficult place is going to be the transition between those two. That's where you're going to have the most problem, is right in there, and I think you can probably see that I have a kind of a nasty bump right there. But I'm not really finished yet, so I have to get this down. You can see from the drawing of the original that neck area right here is quite a bit smaller than the bulb, so I've still got some more work to do. Now that's looking pretty good there. I don't have any concentric rings on this nearly flat portion of it. I think though I still have it a little bit too built up. I think it needs to be even a little bit flatter, but I wanted to stop and check how I'm doing on the neck here, and I've got a pair of calipers set up for that neck, and I'm still too thick by just a little bit, so that'll be good. Now this is going to be the most difficult cut, because I'm going to have to start right there at the edge, but I can't let it go back along there, and push almost straight in, and then come out with that scooping cut right there, and only reduce the neck a little bit. And when I do that, I want to keep the smallest part right about in there. Let me mark that with a pencil. Right in here is where I want the smallest part of the neck to be. Now I think that looks really good. Let me check that diameter. That looks good. Yeah, that's probably just a little bit on the thick side, but not that much that would matter. I like the way this is sloped. Again, when I'm looking from into this direction, I don't see any concentric rings. If I had concentric rings, that would mean I don't have a smooth, even curvature to that, and that's difficult. I do have a small step right in there that I'm going to have to take care of, but that'll be fairly easy to do. And now I can more accurately shape this bulb here now that I have this area finished. So let me do that. Okay, now that's all I want to do now. I need to go down here and work on this place. But the most difficult part of this is that start, so that you don't come back in here. And also, like with shaping this, you can't watch just a tool. You have to look up here and see the shape emerge and make sure that you're getting it nice. So you're constantly shifting your focus between the tool and the emerging shape up there at the top edge.